Today our story begins with a boy and his beautiful lady who just decided to have a board game evening. Just look at this romantic atmosphere. It seems that they are actually in love with each other. Oddly enough, all the actions take place in some strange place where there were many beds. It seems they decided to move from the usual Monopoly to table billiards because the guy just brought a cue with him. And while their incredible game continued, the boy decided to remember the words of his father, because even if life seems terrible to you, when winter is cold, then with the change of seasons, spring comes to everyone. After such a cool story about how the main character became a man, with the arrival of spring, the action moves to the competition. His legs were tied with a special tape that connected him to his partner. In short, they ran a marathon. It turns out that this is not an ordinary race, but a race in which boys and girls participated in the same team. As the real protagonist of this story, of course he and his pair come first and team number 3 is declared the winners. The prize turns out to be simply incredible because they will be given drinks and a gift certificate worth 1 million won. While the main character was standing on the podium, his girlfriend was so happy that they took first place. It was announced on stage that this year the third team was the dark horse that unexpectedly took the lead. And here is our handsome trainee named So Yeon Ki. Please invite him to the stage. He even talks about how he was single from the very beginning and therefore could easily manage his time and energy. True, at one moment he completely lost himself and everything happened thanks to one person. He turns out to be such a romantic and talks about how happy he is to wake up in the morning and see the face of his beautiful lady. But it turns out that he sang a song about love which he dedicated to his girlfriend. Of course he heard it with interest. Next, we are shown how the companies came together to celebrate their efforts with dinner and drinks in the fresh air. And our boy was sitting with the lady of his heart, who seemed very tired after such a long ordeal. He was worried that something might have happened to the girl and now she felt too bad. She herself could not understand the reason why she felt so bad, because she drank very little drinks. She could not even understand what was happening to her now. Having concluded that most likely she was simply in the heat for too long, the main character invites her to go and rest. As a true man, he doesn't want the lady of his heart to walk alone in this state, so he decides to walk her to the room. Now they have already arrived at their destination, and he asked him to be as careful as possible. She was still worried because it was because of her that the main character couldn't have fun at the holiday, and she couldn't even try the drinks properly. But on the contrary, he liked everything because the time he spent with the girl was simply incredible. He is going to leave her so that the lady can rest in peace, but she is surprised that the boy is already leaving. She didn't want him to leave so quickly and asked him to sit with her for a while. Well, he's just glad that he can spend a little more time with his girlfriend. But she didn't last long. She was too tired, and so she just lay down on the bed. Since she is so tired, she better go to sleep and the main character is about to leave. But at that very second, with the speed of a flash, he rises and begins to look angrily at the boy. She was terribly angry because they spent 3 whole days together, and this idiot could not notice that she had feelings for the main character. And then a realization seems to come to him. The boy tries to pretend as if he understood her all this time, and he also had feelings for her. In the next shot, she simply put her hands on his cheeks and then kissed the boy. And while all this is happening, a voiceover tells us that there were 37 winters in his life. And finally, the very moment came in which his spring came, or the dawn of his youth, just like in Naruto. And then the actions are transferred to the moment at which the prehistory ended, namely when they staged a real competition. She simply asked him if he often plays football with someone, and after a few minutes of silence, the main character said no. This turns out to be a surprising answer for her because he was too great a player. Although the boy did nothing but kick the ball all the time, you can clearly understand that it was hard for her to fight against him. Having carefully examined his hands, the main character understands that the girl is completely right because he is simply an excellent athlete. Damn it. But spring really came in his life. How surprising that it was just when he just wanted to win the main prize at the competition. Well, since he is so lucky, he is not going to just let luck out of his hands and decides to arrange a real football match with the lady. He was wearing his sports uniform, so there shouldn't have been any problems. But no, there is a problem. The girl suddenly asked the boy to take a little time with his football game. No matter how strange it was, she just ran towards the door. Did she really decide to run away from our master of sports? But no. Everything turns out to be even better than before. The girl simply closed the door so that no one would accidentally come in and interrupt their football match. Of course, everything was as if it were new to him, and he could only watch and agree with her. While the boy was looking at how beautiful the girl was, she asked her to help her a little and teach her how to play this game correctly. Although she looked down on him, the main character still expressed his feelings by saying that she was simply beautiful. She liked the compliment, and now all that remained was to properly prepare for the football match, which is exactly what the guy decided to do. Meanwhile, she simply stood opposite and watched everything that the boy was doing, It seems that she completely trusts him in terms of choosing a strategy. The lady is also not going to stay on the sidelines for long, so soon she also wore a football uniform. And this is the face of a man who all his life has done nothing but play Dota 2, which is why he gets shocked when he sees a girl. He is not going to waste time and therefore simply starts the game with easy passes that the lady easily accepts. Right now, the moment has come when she said that she really likes playing football with the boy, after which the actions are transferred to the moment, while all the other guys continued to celebrate the fact that they took part in such a big race. Suddenly, the fat man decided to interrupt the party a little and called a girl named Hee-soo. It turns out that he was worried that his leader was still not there. He urgently needed to convey a message, but he was nowhere to be seen. If so, the girl comes up with a simply brilliant idea to call him, because the fat man couldn't think of it right away. He simply asked him to keep an eye on everything here, and in case of an unforeseen situation, resolve it while he was away. Afterwards, the boy simply leaves, but is still worried that the conductor was still not there. Meanwhile, they show us some lady who tried to fall asleep but couldn't, so she put on her glasses again. It turns out that all this time she was in the very room in which the main character and his girlfriend were playing football. How did they not notice her at all? She woke up precisely because of the football sounds. It was at this moment that a call came to the main character's phone, and the girl asked him to just not pick up the phone because they were playing an important football match right now. He in turn simply turns off the phone, and the lady with glasses became too interested in watching their game. Since nothing else distracts them, they are going to continue the football match, but the girl with glasses has already become their first and only spectator. But she was still sleepy, and that's why she didn't immediately understand that they were playing football. Looking at them, the girl was simply shocked that they were playing football right in the camp. Meanwhile, our main character had already played out quite strongly, and was trying with all his might to defeat the girl. The lady with glasses immediately jumps away from the fan stands and, in surprise, begins to cover her mouth with her hands so as not to give away her presence. The main character's girlfriend asked to play football because she liked this game too much, but this didn't make it any easier for the observer. The boy tried as hard as he could. Each of his hits on the ball was made with maximum force, and it was no longer clear whether he would be able to last until the end of the match. But our bespectacled friend sat and huddled in a corner like a gray mouse. It seems that she doesn't really like being in this football atmosphere. Suddenly, the girl with blue hair asked the game to stop for a while, because soon she could simply lose all her strength. It turns out that the main character did not notice that she was exhausted so quickly. The game does not end at this moment, but still he begins to play, not at full strength. The main character was very worried that during a football match she might get hurt, and then it would be terribly painful. But in response, she only asked to play not at full strength, and then everything would be fine. While the boy was sitting simply in shock that he was very lucky to meet such a beautiful girl, she herself suggested changing the battlefield a little, maybe so they could play on equal terms. Well, since the situation has turned so abruptly, the main character is not at all against playing with her according to new rules, so he happily agrees. According to the new rules, football turns out to be even more interesting, which makes the protagonist's friend very happy, but not this red-haired lady who simply didn't know what to do in such a situation. It turns out that the main character made a mistake and scored a goal into the wrong goal, but it's okay. A friend just warned that she meant something completely different when she talked about other rules. Of course, he was terribly embarrassed, and so the boy asked for forgiveness for what he did. Everything is fine, just let him play as before, but not at full strength. She even started smiling because it turns out that she has a very nice boyfriend who understands her so well. But suddenly she starts playing strangely, so he has a lot of questions about what she's doing. It turns out that the main character's football skills have become much worse than before, and now they both wondered about the reason for such a strange phenomenon. But this is the face of a man who has just lost his advantage during a competition. It seems that he will no longer be able to play as before. But it's okay. His girlfriend suggested changing the game a little and playing something else, and they would return to football when he gained new strength. They began to play baseball. And this game turns out to be a little more interesting than the previous one, because here the main character had much more opportunities to play out. Still, he begins to understand that this is a doubles game, namely that the girl said that he should also try for the sake of a common victory and not just stand with the bat. For a while he doesn't understand what she means when suddenly the boy agrees to start a new round. His game was that he had to catch the ball that she would hit. It was difficult, but he would definitely be able to cope. While the events in their baseball game were becoming more and more interesting, the lady with glasses was becoming more and more interested in watching their battle on the field. How good it was that they simply did not notice her all this time. Error, this unexpected fan was seen, namely the protagonist's friend who all this time could not take her eyes off the girl with glasses. As you would expect, the girl just starts screaming because they suddenly have spectators. She immediately asked the main character to stop the match, and so far the girl with glasses simply left the fans' stands. Of course, there was no surprise, and she tried to hide it as quickly as possible when she saw it. She couldn't understand who she was and made the assumption that it was a ghost, a thief, or a murderer, and our boy became her protection. Still, she asked her to calm down a little because she is not a ghost, but just the deputy leader of the group. But for now, the girl just sits in surprise and doesn't understand what's happening, and the main character lies unconscious because during the last blow, he hit himself with a bat. And she is still trying to explain that she was just sleeping peacefully on the second floor when she suddenly heard strange sounds, after which she realized that these two decided to play football here. Now the situation has cleared up a little and the lady has calmed down, and only now she began to understand that the main character was in terrible pain. For now, he just lies on the ground and tries to make at least a sound, but he just can't. Then his friend begins to realize that things are really bad. While the girl with glasses was trying to understand what was happening to him, her friend said that she was so scared that she simply hit him on the head with a bat. It happened by accident. She simply could not believe that she had such a strange reaction to fear. How could she accidentally hit a person? But now she tried to understand with what force she hit. To my friend, the situation seemed simply terrible, because during the blow, she clearly heard how his bone simply cracked. Still, the girl with glasses asked to examine his head because this could develop into a more serious situation. While the friend was just sitting next to her, she tried to make the main character start answering her questions and promised that she would definitely come up with something. After examining his head in more detail, the girl realized that the situation was much worse than she could have expected. There was still a skull fracture. Of course, the friend was worried about her boyfriend, whom she had just met a couple of minutes ago, and was now thinking about how to help him. First of all, it was necessary to check as quickly as possible whether everything was okay with his head, but the lady with blue hair somehow didn't like her methods. As soon as she started examining her head, her friend tried to understand what the hell she was doing. But she did exactly what she talked about, namely, check the patient's condition. Then a rather unexpected turn happens because despite all the injuries he received, he was still in perfect order. Only the main character was still unconscious. But no, everything is fine with him, only he still cannot speak normally as if he had simply lost part of his brain. Afterwards, cherry juice just started coming out of his wound, and the girls started to feel nervous. They didn't understand what to do in such a situation. She only asked the girl to remove her hand from his head, but accidentally cherry juice gets on her and the panic becomes even stronger than before. The situation was worse than ever. Their only responsible person was now practically dying, and these two fools did not understand what needed to be done. Realizing that if he doesn't do anything on his own, he'll just throw his hooves away. He finds the strength in himself to tell these crazy people to just send him to the hospital. It seems that they completely forgot that there is such a cool thing called an ambulance, and at that very second, they began to look for a phone to make a call. Suddenly, through terrible pain, he asked them not to call an ambulance, but the girls did not understand why he so abruptly refused the help of a professional. It turns out that he was worried that too many people would come, and he couldn't attract attention now. The lady with glasses understands that he is saying the right things, but only his friend asks what they should do if they can't even call an ambulance. But in an instant, this girl's face becomes as if a brilliant plan had been born in her head. Next, we are again shown the same fat man who went to the leader's belts, just as he found them when they got into the car. It was strange for him that there were other guys there, but that's just where they were going. While the lady with glasses was afraid that they had been caught, the main character comes up with an excuse saying that he ate something wrong, and now his stomach hurt terribly. And he simply could not believe that they were so stupid, because now they are in the village, there is no hospital nearby, and the road is dark and dangerous to drive. He was already taking out the keys, saying that his car was not far away and it would be better for him to take them himself. But the girl with blue hair simply shouted, "No." It turns out that she can also come up with excellent excuses. Since the fat man has already drunk too many drinks, she will take them herself. He only responds by saying that he didn't drink any drinks at all, but the lady with glasses decided to play along by saying that he was going to drive the car after drinking a lot of drinks. It's simply impossible to believe. While he was still trying to prove that he didn't drink any drinks, the lady with blue hair simply took his arm and decided to invite him to drink drinks with her. It seems that he is just a typical CSGO player, so he can't even refuse such an offer. And while the main character watched his girlfriend leave to drink drinks with another guy, the girl with glasses said that it was time for them to leave. They had been driving in the car for quite some time, but the girl didn't know the road at all, so she left the route, for which she apologized profusely to the main character. While he was dying from terrible pain, he was interested in only one thing: why some strange sound was constantly playing in the car. She simply explains that it is because the boy did not fasten his seatbelt, but he was wearing it. It's strange because she was also wearing a seatbelt, then what was the matter? When suddenly these two idiots finally understand that this is a notification that there is too little gasoline, the lady panicked that they would not be able to drive further. What should they do now? And the main character simply says that we urgently need to find gasoline. Thank you, Captain Obvious. We wouldn't know this without you. She decides that the best thing to do is call someone and ask for help. After looking in all her pockets, the girl realized that she had left her phone somewhere. It turns out that she left it in the room, but what's worst is that the main character didn't have a phone either. All these two geniuses could do was sit in the car and think what to do now. For now, the main character decided to just sleep peacefully to pass the time, but suddenly he was woken up by a loud sound. It turns out that while he was here, it had already started to rain. Not only was it raining, but Zeus himself decided to get angry at them and shoot a couple of lightning bolts. Like a typical woman, she is frightened by the slightest sound and immediately screams when lightning strikes. He tries with all his might to calm her down, saying that this is just ordinary thunder. Suddenly, the girl simply lowered her head and tried to understand what to do now, but the main character does not understand what happened to her. And in the next frame, they managed to find an umbrella somewhere, and for some reason they needed to get out of the car. They just went into the forest, and the main character believed that this place was just perfect for what she wanted. Of course, he gets a little shocked because he was chosen to be the umbrella stand, so he has to stay here. While she was just minding her own business, the guy was simply shocked by what she decided to do. The lady did not understand his indignation because he himself told her that this place was perfect. But it seems that she simply misunderstood him because he meant that first he must leave here. Well, it doesn't matter. Now all he had to do was hold the umbrella in his hands and watch the show. Spark storm of madness when suddenly the main character has an idea. Why not play baseball right now? For now, the lady can only look at everything that is happening, when suddenly she asked him to cover his ears. And this girl generally thinks with her head because he simply won't be able to hold an umbrella if his hands are full. Still, she asked him to hold the umbrella with one hand and cover his ears with the other. But that didn't change the fact that he wanted to play baseball, and the girl was simply shocked when she found a baseball bat. Like a real man, the only thing he can think of is to simply run away from the scene, leaving the lady alone in the rain. Still, he asked her for forgiveness, but the lady was simply shocked when she realized that the boy was a baseball fan. Next, we see the main character already in the car who understands what he has done. The lady with glasses had also returned and was worried that something might happen to the boy. Still, everything was fine with him, and he again asked her forgiveness for what happened. But she tries to pretend as if nothing happened, although in reality she is still in shock. Apparently the cherry juice from the wound is still flowing, and the pain from that powerful blow has become much stronger. Suddenly, some strange sounds appear in the car, as if someone had received a call on the phone. So far, the main character was simply in shock and did not understand what these sounds were because their phones remained in the camp. But the girl was already asking Yang Qi for forgiveness. It turns out that her phone was in another pocket all this time, and she completely forgot about it. The action moves to the next day, and we see a girl with blue hair simply running into his room. And here our victim seems that he is very happy to see his girlfriend. She was so worried that everything was just terrible with him, and asked for forgiveness for that blow, but only said that everything would be fine with him. She was sure that he would immediately return to camp. Maybe something didn't suit him. But he denies everything, saying that he just needed to get tested, so he stayed in the hospital. While they were holding hands, the girl was worried that there was too much cherry juice, but he explained to her that there were a lot of vessels there, so it was a small scratch for him. Since everything was normal, she could not understand the reason why the main character was still in the hospital. The doctor just told him to stay here for a while. In any case, he calms her down, saying that she has no reason to worry. But in response, the lady simply starts crying, saying that she hit him with a baseball bat. Because of this, she now cannot sleep normally at night. Like a true Sigma, he simply wipes the tears from her face and says that he will be fine. It seems that it helped. But how could everything have happened without the kissing moment? It seems that the baseball match was soon to be repeated, but there was only one problem, as if the main character had lost all his playing abilities. This all turns out to be due to the drugs that the doctor prescribed to him. It was after them that the main character can no longer play baseball normally. Suddenly the girl says that she can't do it yet, but that's where the phrase ends. Now the boy has even more questions and asks what she can't do. And yet she says that she wants to play baseball too much, even if he has lost all his abilities. The main character himself really wants to play, but what should he do if he can't even hit the ball normally? It seems that these guys really love each other. He promises that if suddenly now his abilities return, the baseball game will take place. Trying to regain his true powers, he manages to do this, but the pain was simply terrible. Looking at how the boy is trying for her sake, the girl begins to worry and tries to understand what she should do now. Once again, he tries to calm her down, but the baseball game has to be canceled. All she asked was that he get better quickly, and then they would definitely be able to play normally. She also makes a promise that as soon as he gets better, they will definitely play baseball every day. Next, we are shown a more joyful girl who asks how long ago this happened. The main character talks about how he felt better within 10 days, but still it was strange for him to talk about it. She understands his feelings perfectly, but is still terribly glad that he is feeling better. Since it's all over, she's going to play baseball with him tonight and asks what time he gets off work. The time was set for 6 o'clock, but only director Guo Yunbin decided to invite the two of them to dinner. After such a message, the lady gets upset and asks why he decided to call them. Rather, this is all because of what happened during the seminar, but the main character asked that she keep everything a secret. He himself will pay the hospital bills and will lie in a single ward. The boss took care of them and the boy really appreciated this, but the lady still didn't like that their plans had changed. He simply asks if she agrees to go with him. She doesn't mind, but she still has a couple of conditions. She simply says that she feels too bad, after which he begins to panic as if he said something wrong, because her face was too angry. She simply says that she expected them to have dinner in the evening. But if this meeting is so important for the main character, then she agrees to go. After which the door slams and our boy is left alone in this room, as if he had done something wrong. Afterwards, we are shown the same girl who came to the boss. He asked her to bring coffee, but there was no coffee. She simply sat down at the table and said that the line for coffee was too long. But he did not understand such a statement. Okay, it doesn't matter. The fat man just asked them to quickly finish their work where they left off. It was all about the suppliers who, to begin with, he asked to provide a packing list with an invoice. The fat man continued to do his incredibly boring work, while she just sat next to her and thought about her own things. She received a couple of new messages on her phone, in which the main character said that he was still on the stairs and asked her to come back. Suddenly, she just gets up from her chair and says that she'll go and try to buy coffee again, but he again doesn't understand why she leaves so abruptly. But in response, she only says that she will try to return as soon as possible and runs away at the speed of the flash. The expression on the face of a person who is being deceived, he can only be surprised that she ran away again. Meanwhile, the main character was just sitting and listening to music on his phone. The main character all this time thought that she simply wouldn't come because she didn't respond to his messages. Still, he admits his mistake because he acted wrongly after refusing her the game. But she also admits her mistake because she began to get angry when there was absolutely no reason. Afterwards, the girl simply hugged the main character, and now they faced off again. While they were hugging, the girl admitted that she really liked the main character. And in response, he arranges the same confession because he also liked the girl. After they looked at each other for a long time, another kiss occurs. But the girl again says that she wants to play baseball. It seems like she completely forgot that they were at work and was going to play baseball right here. The girl had already begun to think that the main character simply did not want to play sports games with her. He denied everything, but he was just afraid that someone might see a baseball game. In response, the girl says that they saw each other here more than 10 times, and during all this time, no one came here. In such cases, she asks him to start the game as soon as possible, and the main character, seeing the baseball, seems to have decided to start a new career. A real miracle has now happened for her, because she waited too long for him to leave the hospital. She wanted the main character to play as best as possible and show that he is a real master of sports. The last time they played in the camp, it was too dark, but now the boy can clearly see all the movements of the enemy. Of course, he tries to play as best as possible without leaving the girl even a chance to win, but can he play for so long? So far, everything was going just fine, and the girl even asked him to play even better. He, in turn, only said that in fact he also likes to play with her. Suddenly, he decides to change the rules of the game a little, which left her friend in shock. She just asked what he was doing, but it seems that our handsome guy has everything under control. In response, he says that he just wanted them to play baseball closer to each other, and now the game has changed. The lady simply decided to ask the reason why the main character was so cute, and then made a very strong blow. If suddenly he really wanted to play baseball with her every day, then he should just say so. She simply promises that she will definitely do everything he asks, just because she loves him. While their incredible baseball game continues, our video ends. Thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel and like so that the new part will come out as soon as possible.